you don't have to disclose your mutual funds, but it's only individual stock holding in companies. So that makes it much easier. Okay, so if there are no questions for the general counsel, we're going to move on. And I would ask Judge Ash to please present the report of the Chief Administrative Law Judge's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For those in attendance tonight who may not know, I am Judge Ash. I'm one of the judges at the Commission on Human Rights. Chief Judge Pearson is our chief judge. So you all received the report or the amended report before today's meeting. So I'll just go ahead and jump right in with operational updates. So commission reappointments and vacancies. As you all may know, our Chair Ozawa, Commissioners Burnett and Commissioner Meyer are up for reappointment. There is also one vacancy that we had been in communication with MOTA about filling that particular, there was actually a candidate that was identified, and we even received resume material. And the next step was really just to start with interviewing. However, there have been some personnel changes within MOTA's office. And so, we are basically awaiting updates on the reappointment and appointment process. So stay tuned for that. As for performance oversight, that update, as you all know, the oversight hearing took place on February 21st, 2024, before Councilwoman Breon Nadal. Chair Ozawa provided testimony on behalf of the commission. Chief Judge Pearson and I recently worked with Chair Ozawa to complete a supplemental response to one of the oversight questions about the number of cases that the commission had in fiscal year 2023 to 2024 that substantiated unlawful discrimination allegations. That supplemental question will be submitted soon. Also, stop me if you have any questions. Settlement conferences. So at this time, we have been granted approval to contract for outside mediation services in an effort to provide additional support to the commission. We are working to confirm a provider in the immediate future. So personally, I've been in touch with Community Mediation DC and, have had some communications with them. There's nothing set in stone, but we are working, of course, to try to bring on some additional mediation services just to help with cases that, for example, I have where, I'm presiding over the cases and the parties ask for a settlement conference. Because I am the presiding judge, I cannot provide any type of mediation services. There's a conflict there. So we are working to bring on additional services. The Georgetown Partner Fellowship. So we completed interviews a couple of weeks ago, and we're happy to report that we extended an offer to an applicant, and we are awaiting their response. And so hopefully we will have an official announcement soon as to the 2024 to 2025 fellow. The commission case inventory. So as you'll note from the report, we did, since our last meeting, there's been one new case that has been certified to the commission. That case, though, was, an OHR matter, so a government case, a public sector case. And so in terms of the number of commission cases, that number has not changed. There are still 18 pending cases before the commission. I will note, however, even since the report was drafted, Chief Judge Pearson and I worked on, putting the report together a couple of weeks ago. There have been 2 cases where proposed decisions and orders have gone out. In layman's term, really what that means is that they should be going before a tribunal, a hearing tribunal, with 3 of you all at some point in the very near future. And so that will be 2 more cases that have been moved off of the commission's docket. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about the report? No? Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Judge Ash. I will now move to the report of the chair of the commission. And actually, Judge Ash already covered some aspects of the performance oversight hearing on February the 21st. So I will just mention maybe a couple of highlights. I think the most important thing is that we contributed to the closure of 13 cases in the last fiscal year. And this included 2 of the longest outstanding cases, those that were certified in 2015 and 2018. And these weighed us down in terms of our closure rate, and it just caught the eye of everybody who looked at our data. But luckily, we were able to close these long-standing cases, and they were outstanding for a number of extremely complicated cases, reasons, not because of any a fault of the judges or the commissioners. In any event, they are happily gone now, and so I think that we can now just focus on moving the cases along at our usual speed. And so it's good to know that the judges are moving 2 more cases towards tribunal, and we're very thankful for their efforts. In terms of, sorry, to continue with the oversight hearing, we also talked about the outreach activities that we were successful at last year, mainly the Human Rights Awards ceremony. I think going forward, there is a lot of interest from others regarding our outreach activities, and I think we need to be perhaps a bit more strategic in the way we approach outreach. So we will come back to that topic later, or perhaps at the next meeting. And then Judge Ash already mentioned the supplemental question. That was Councilwoman Nadeau asking, how many cases were we able to substantiate the existence of discrimination among the 13 cases we closed? And the answer is actually 0. And that number might seem shocking to you, but there is a very, very good reason why the number tends to be low. This is year in and year out, I think, a challenge for us. And that has to do with the case law that governs and the burden of proof that is extremely high for complainants. And so if you're curious why that is, please look at the proposed response, which I sent along with the Commission's responses to the oversight hearing questions and my statement. I noticed that the supplemental hearing answer had redlining in it. So sorry, that is distracting, but you could just accept all the changes and the substance won't make any difference. So please take a look. I won't want to take up any more airtime explaining what that situation is. You can look it up if you would like. So let's see. I think that is all I really needed to say about the performance oversight hearing. And if there are no questions, I don't see any raised hands. So I will move to the new business item, which has to do with commission record keeping and seeking volunteers. This matter is covered in our answers to questions number 5 to 7 in the oversight hearing questions. Every year, the oversight hearing questions ask a bunch of data regarding the commission. And this has anything to do with the names of the commission, when they're appointed, when is their term up, please give us their bios, what's their attendance record, please give us minutes of all your hearings from your meetings from the last year, number of tribunals you had, people who have attended the tribunals, your vacancies and so on and so forth. And this is all available information because we spit out a ton of information in connection with all of our bi-monthly commission meetings. It's just that they're sort of scattered all over the place. And so every year it falls on the law clerk, this year Matthew, and the judges to pull this information together. And typically this happens over a couple of weeks. And so it's like a hurry up and get this and put it all into our responses. And it creates an extremely stressful condition for the judges when they're also juggling with other things such as case closure. And so the request this year is for the commission to manage some of that data collection. Again, the data is available. It's sort of all at our fingertips. It's just that somebody actually needs to go into the system and pull all of this out. And so I am actually seeking volunteers to not help so much in connection with the performance oversight hearing questions, but just to pull this information out from our monthly meeting, our bi-monthly meeting, to have this available at your fingertips. So come January, when we look backwards to the previous fiscal year, we don't have such a stressful time pulling this information. Now, of course, I am ultimately responsible for this information production, and I will look to the vice chair and the secretary to help in this information production, data production system. It's just that it would be nice to have a couple of more volunteers from the commission who might be able to do this throughout the year and to help because for example, Charlotte has a lot of responsibilities related to the minutes. So she is the obvious place to collect all the minutes, right, for all of our meetings, but not necessarily for all the commissioner-related information. So I am looking for a couple of volunteers from the commission to help with that record keeping. And if I don't see any volunteers, I might be going around calling upon you after this meeting is over. But if you would like to volunteer, this is your opportunity. So I will shut up now. And I beseech you to, so Commissioner Floyd, you have your hand up.
Oh, I was just letting you know I'm all in.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any other volunteers? We would very much welcome your assistance. And I don't want to belabor the point. So we shall move on, but I might be calling upon you after this meeting. So beware. Okay. So now moving to old business. So I think one of the judges, perhaps it's Judge Ash, who is going to remind us about the 23 protected traits mandatory training for the commissioners.
Yes. So the mandatory training has been rescheduled. And so that will be now held on April 18th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Oh, no, it looks like, wait, sorry, I'm reading this wrong. That date looks like it will be rescheduled.
Do we know when it's going to be?
Let me, hold on one second. Let me
Well,
just.
the agenda says April the 18th at 6:30. Is that the proposed new date? And
that is correct.
that's
The
new
new
date.
date,
will all be available.
the new date is the 18th. We
18th.
accidentally scheduled it on Emancipation Day, which is a day that DC government was closed.
Right.
And so we just rescheduled it for the same week, but on the 18th.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief Judge. Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
Thank
so okay, sorry, I'm looking at this message. So I hope everybody is available. If not, please let us know. It is absolutely essential that we are all part of this training, and it's very interesting, I can assure you. And it's very interactive, so the hour and a half or so will go very fast, I can promise you. I have taken this a couple of times. Okay, so I don't see anybody saying I cannot do this, so hopefully we will have full attendance on April the 15th. Now moving on to committee reports. We have 3 committees, as you know, and I will just tell you very quickly that the awards committee will be gearing up very soon to get organized for the 2024 awards ceremony. But I have not had a chance to convene that committee yet. So committee members, be warned that we will be holding a meeting probably towards the end of this month or early April. I believe, well, because Charlotte is absent tonight and she is the new chair of the outreach committee. Unfortunately, we do not have any updates, but I have suggested to her that we convene the first meeting under her leadership of the outreach committee. And so we will be looking for dates to do that pretty soon. And we have been so busy that we have not really had a conversation around the rules committee. So Chair Baldwin III, who is the chair for the rules committee, I think you are spared of giving an update for that committee, and we will touch base with the judges shortly to figure out this year's work program. So not much to report on that end, in part because we have been so busy with the performance oversight hearing and a lot of updates around the office. So are there any questions, any requests regarding committees? So basically what I'm proposing is I will take these up separately per each committee, right? And I will give everybody a nudge. And if I may, I just wanted to back up and comment on Adam's chat that I missed Commissioner Sanders volunteering excuse me, Kenneth Sanders volunteering for, is that the data collection part that you are volunteering very kindly? I missed that hand. Director Sanders, yeah, I think your mute is on.
No, I did not volunteer, but I'm willing to make myself available if I'm being drafted. That's
Yes,
not an issue.
Thank you so much. Sorry about the mistake. We will be pulling you in as necessary. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. So if there are no more discussions around the committee work, I would like to move to the next agenda item, which is item 12, public comments. So I just want to remind the commissioners that the commission has our policy on public comment. You recall that we adopted this policy last August, and hopefully everybody is familiar with the content of that policy. But if not, I believe Chief Judge Pearson circulated that policy. And just to remind ourselves why we have this, we are not required under any statute to hold a public comment period, but because we are a human rights organization and we are concerned about learning about any instances and trends and issues related to discrimination in our community, in our district, we think it's good practice to hold a public comment period to the extent that the request for public comment is within the confines of our policy. And so tonight, I just want to point out, as you all know, we had a request from three requesters regarding the situation in Gaza. And because they would like to raise issues regarding discrimination, which is within the purview of the commission, because it pertains to our role, adjudicatory role, under the Human Rights Act, we decided that it would be appropriate to open up this agenda period for public comments. I just want to remind everybody that we are here to listen, and that the public policy, comment policy does not require us to respond or open up for discussion or decision-making. Unless any commissioner would like to enter into discussion or ask questions or enable requesters to ask questions. And if that is the case, we need to vote to have our public comment period waived for this period. So I'm just going to pause for a minute and ask commissioners, is there any commissioner who would like to have the public comment policy suspended for the forthcoming public comment? Seeing no such request, then we are going to go ahead and request that the commentators proceed to make comments. And for this reason, I would like to remind the commentators that each is required to speak for 3 minutes and no more. And your comments should be addressed to the commission and not the public. And the commentators may submit a comment of your public comment if you would like that to be part of the official minutes of this meeting. And you have already been provided instructions on how to submit those comments. So the commission will now entertain public comments, and I will now call on Dorgam Absalem, Janine Rashmawi, and Emily Siegel to please make your comments, each of you limited to 3 minutes. Thank you so much, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioners. Let me begin with saying that I never thought that the name of the small town, agricultural small town where I grew up would appear in international headlines. My name is Dorgam. I am a resident of Ward 2, and I come from a small town called Bir el-Balah in what you may know as the Gaza Strip in occupied Palestine. Israel bombed the home where I grew up, displacing my elderly parents, blind mother and paralyzed father, as well as my little sister and older brother. Only 3 weeks later, Israel's ongoing genocide prevented having a dignified funeral and burial for my father, who passed away malnourished and displaced from his own home. My ask today for the Commission is to issue a statement calling for an immediate and permanent stop to the ongoing genocide Israel is carrying out in the Gaza Strip, and to urge your peers in the Mayor's office and DC Council to do the same. You might think this is an issue happening thousands of miles away and does not fall within the jurisdiction of this Commission. However, the Israeli assault on Palestinian life goes beyond geography and beyond October 7 of last year. The relevance of this issue to the Commission lies squarely within the ongoing US support and aid of the atrocities Israel is committing in Gaza using our taxpayer money. Meanwhile, the growing anti-Semitism, anti-Palestinian sentiment, and Islamophobia here in DC and across the US make it incumbent on you and on this Commission to protect the rights of communities who are hurting because of the atrocities Israel is committing in Gaza. Speaking as a Palestinian resident of DC and as a Semite, I'm afraid of exercising my rights freely in an environment that threatens my well-being for merely existing. Consider this incident. A stranger spat on a couple friends of mine while they were walking down Pennsylvania Avenue because they wore a kufiyya, a traditional Palestinian scarf. Another friend of mine received a death threat at their place of work here in Washington, D.C. Many of you have worked on issues relating to housing, disability, racial justice, and domestic and international law and human rights. I can go on in describing how the work of this commission relates to experiences of my own. After all, I too am a human being, despite all efforts to convince you otherwise. But with having only 3 minutes to speak, time is of the essence, just as it is for the people on the Gaza Strip who are being slaughtered en masse. As of today, Israel murdered more than 30,000 people in Gaza, men, women, children, elderly, among them newborns and people who lived with disabilities, people from all walks of life. Nearly 100 died from starvation alone. Silence is death. I do not say these words lightly. This is why it is crucial for this commission to speak up and elevate the nationwide majority call for ceasefire to hostilities in the Gaza Strip. I'm available for any commissioner if you have any questions or thoughts that you'd like to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Commentator, please.
Hi, thank you, commissioners, and thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Janine Rishmawi, and I'm a Palestinian resident of DC. I live in Ward 3. My father was born and raised in Gaza, and I have family that is currently in Gaza now. Currently, the majority of my family is sheltering in a church in northern Gaza because Israel has destroyed and bombed nearly all of our homes. Most of them are rubble. I'm here to speak to you as a Palestinian, ask you, as my friend and colleague just said, ask you to do all you can to issue a statement and urge the DC Council to introduce a ceasefire resolution, but to also issue a statement condemning this genocide against Palestinians. As Serkan mentioned, Israel has already massacred over 31,000 Palestinians in 4 months. And I just want to quickly talk to you about how, as a Palestinian, we are mourning and trying to reach our family who are being starved and are being killed by Israel, a country that DC has a relationship with, a country that, the mayor goes on delegations to. That how it hits back home as a resident in DC. Just Jorgan mentioned the incident of somebody being spat on Pennsylvania Avenue. That occurred, that happened to me and a group of my friends. We were walking down Pennsylvania Avenue near downtown DC after attending a rally in support for Palestinian rights. And we were walking, it was actually a group of Palestinians and Jewish Americans who were walking down the street wearing keffiyehs and holding signs that said, "Stop genocide." And a woman came up to us and spat on us. And I guess for us, we just feel like DC should be a city, that it should be a safe space and a space that we should be able to say it's not okay to kill our people and that we deserve to live a life of dignity. And we also should be able to live in DC and express that. Not only are we enduring a genocide, we're also having to go through the fear of being able to just say we deserve to live, we deserve humanity. And we look to you as the Human Rights Commission to do all that you can to protect us and to have a city that really is inclusive of all people. And I see I have 10 seconds left, so I just really lastly want to touch on the Palestinian community has been working with local DC community residents on this issue, and we just thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rishmawi, for your statement. The next speaker, please.
Good evening, and thank you, Chair Azawa, for granting us this time to speak. My name is Emily Siegel, and I'm a DC native, now living in Ward 5. I want to talk with you today about the need of to break the silence of DC officials about what's happening in Gaza and the ways it affects people in DC. As a Jewish American growing up in DC, I learned very little about Israel beyond what was discussed within my own Zionist community, until I visited there as a teenager in 2000. My time there began creating cracks in the Zionist narrative I grew up with. Through re-educating myself, I came to understand that Israel is not a utopia for Jewish people that I had grown up learning about. That in actuality, it's a country built on top of another, Palestine, in which a military occupation, apartheid, and vast amounts of discrimination have been necessary to ensure its survival. Since that first trip, I've visited and lived there multiple times. I've organized educational tours there for over a decade, and I've formed deep connections within so many communities there. I have also learned about and experienced firsthand anti-Semitism growing up in DC. The fear of rising anti-Semitism is something ingrained within pretty much every Jewish person I know. I also believe Israel is not the answer to anti-Semitism, and that the actions of it over the last 75 plus years, and certainly in the past 5 months, have only exacerbated anti-Semitism both around the world and within DC. The past 5 months have been terrifying to me. The unprecedented scale of violence that I'm watching taking place in Gaza, as the speakers before me have talked about, is something I never thought I would see in my lifetime. I grew up with the phrase never again, and to me, that has always meant never again will we allow a genocide to be committed against anyone. What has struck me even further are the reverberating effects within local DC communities, leading to several incidents of racism and discrimination within the very DCPS high school and university in DC that I attended, especially towards Palestinian and Arab students. And while there certainly have also been incidents of anti-Semitism, they have been addressed quickly and firmly by DC officials, unlike the ones I've seen towards non-Jewish people. Additionally, the silence of our local government towards the pain Palestinian residents in DC are feeling has astonished me. For the past 5 months, I've been working tirelessly with a group of dedicated DC residents to move our locally elected officials to stand up against these atrocities, to ensure Palestinian residents in DC feel seen and heard, and to demand that the US government take actions to stop the genocide in Gaza. Still, the DC Council remains silent, greatly due to the chairperson's stated claim that what is happening in Gaza is inconsequential to DC, unlike other international issues that they have made resolutions for, like solidarity with the Ukrainian people. I truly believe the atrocities occurring in Gaza will be talked about for the rest of time, and in the words of Aaron Bushnell, who set himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy in DC just a few weeks ago, many of us like to ask ourselves, what would I do if I was alive during slavery or the Jim Crow South or apartheid? What would I do if my country was committing genocide? The answer is what you're doing right now. I want to urge you to lift the silence on this issue locally in DC, to tell the mayor and council who appointed and confirmed you that you want them to do the same by passing a resolution calling for an immediate permanent ceasefire. You are an important voice uplifting human rights in DC, and your voice is needed more than ever to help us ensure that DC truly cares about the human rights of all its residents and their families. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Siegel, for your statement. I just want to remind us that the purpose of the public comment is to allow members of the community an opportunity to express their views. So this is why the commissioners are not responding to your statements at this time. But if we are able, we will follow up with an emailed response within 10 business days if a response is warranted. All right, so thank you again.
Chairman, Dante was on as well. I think Dante wanted to also say something.
It's my understanding that the 3 requesters were the agreed commentators for this purpose.
Okay.
So we are going to move on, and we are now towards the tail end of our agenda, which is announcements. I just have a quick announcement. I don't know whether you have received requests from Georgetown Street Law to serve as judges and scorers for their moot court competition. I recently did one for Howard, and I spent days scoring 10 briefs. It took me forever, although I learned so much. And so I am kind of hesitant to volunteer again, but I probably will volunteer as a scorer. If you are so inclined, please let me know, and I'd be happy to forward the request for participation. And you do not need to be a lawyer to do this. So the key dates are April the 3rd and the 8th. That's when volunteers are needed. Okay, thank you. Any other announcements, please? Okay, seeing none, and excuse me, I am just going to, I may have missed. Okay, so thank you, everybody. I am now calling this meeting to a close. Goodbye, Director Kine. And everybody have a good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and thank you to the public speakers as well.
Yes.
Have a good night.